That's right, loser. We're doing video essays now. Roblox Plane Crazy, a game known for many things. Unrestricted creative freedom, an incredibly high skill ceiling, and one of the most toxic fandoms of any Roblox game ever made, but it's okay because we don't talk about that. Plane Crazy is a physics-based building game a la Scrap Mechanic or Trailmakers, but Roblox. Imagine Minecraft, but you can build machines without needing 7 PhDs in the school of Mumbus Jumbus. Ugh. And of course, as in any game where you can build literally anything, there's going to be millions of troll builds and new player block spam, but every 1 in 1,000 servers, you'll find that one build that makes you go, whoa, I gotta build something like that. So when my friend showed up with this cool steampunk base-looking thing, I was like, whoa, I gotta build something like that. So ladies and gentlemen, after 3 whole years of tedious, laborious, gratuitous work, I am prepared to unveil to all, 36 of you, the grand city of Copperhelm. Nearly 17,000 blocks, 11 fully furnished rooms, a somewhat stable economy, and the world's finest in overly designed steampunk architecture. So let's rewind to early 2023 and detail the construction and history of my magnum opus. Just one small problem. When I began this project 3 years ago, I was a feeble-minded, smooth-brained, homunculus of a thing, and didn't actually know how to take screenshots yet. And while I may not have many pictures of Copperhelm's early development, what I do have is the first building on our tour, the City History Museum. Featuring lore tidbits, a statue of the city's founder, preserved relics of the city's past, and miniature models detailing the actual chronological process in which I built Copperhelm. So let us go through the history of this grand city, starting, of course, with... In the early days, Copperhelm was kind of just a big fenced-in area with a fancy door. Imagine this. But... Sure, this phase is significant because it's where everything started, but it's boring and it doesn't make for good video content. So, let's move on to... This is where I started putting some actual buildings in place, like the city generators, and this restaurant with a very detailed interior. And most importantly, the elevator, powered by 2 precisely engineered robotic arms, literally just metal beams, to give citizens of Copperhelm the smoothest ride between layers of the city. And this elevator is a wonderful segue to lead us into... In Phase 3, I finished fleshing out the lower layer of Copperhelm, making sure that every single building had a decent-looking interior. I also added in some smaller details, like this fountain and a bunch of little banners. And with that, we move on to... Phase 4 is where I started actually adding buildings to the second layer, like the workshop and greenhouse and this absolutely horrendous hotel. And this cool movie theater area, which kind of breaks the lore a little bit because this technology did not exist in the time period that Copperhelm takes place in, but it's okay because we don't talk about that.
Wait! Mechanus! What the frick is this? This looks nothing like the trailer!
You didn't let me finish. I was about to get to that. As you so graciously pointed out, Michael, the footage I've been showing looks nothing like the trailer. There's a reason for that. After I had finished Copperhelm up to the state that you're currently seeing on screen, which at this point was still 3 years ago, I decided to build new stuff, like a bunch of Transformers and a few other Copperhelm-related builds that we'll get into later. After that, I looked back on my beautiful creation, now sans rose-tinted glasses, and realized that it looked like, pardon my French, shit. So, pray tell, dear viewer, what did I do with this newfound perspective on my magnum? Procrastinate. But then after a while, I realized just sitting there and staring at Copperhelm wouldn't make it look any less shit, so I decided to get to work. And thus began the process that took the majority of Copperhelm's 3-year build time. A full visual makeover of the entire city. Every building torn down and rebuilt from the ground up, to make sure it lived up to the current detail standards of my builds. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where the real tour begins. I'm going to go through every single building of Copperhelm individually, detailing its construction process, little details inside of it, lore significance, and things I admittedly could have done better. Starting, of course, with Layer 1. Directly below the City History Museum is the Clock Workshop. Because this is a steampunk society, it's kind of like an obligation to have one of those. Containing all manner of timepieces, tools, trinkets, and tech more outdated than your grandpa's Windows 98 setup. Whilst a decent looking room, I feel like I could have gone a little harder on the wall decor, like a giant gear setup next to the grandfather clocks. But as you'll see many times throughout this video, I was limited by the fact that this game uses a Minecraft-esque grid system, making small, intricate details a massive pain in the ass. Right outside the clock shop is the town square, most people's first impression of Copperhelm once going through the gates, so I did everything in my power to make it look stunning. From the glimpses of a second layer to the meticulously planned out lighting, news boards, reading nook, and a fancy new generator that gives you autism and ADHD if you look at it for too long, the lobby is the perfect area for newcomers to get accustomed to Copperhelm's architecture. And looking to our right, we see the beginning of a grand Copperhelmian tradition. Way too many bars. Every single Copperhelm-related build has, to my count, at least 2 bars for your Uncle Larry to pull up to and get absolutely plastered before getting behind the wheel. Yippee! And to this pattern, the fine eating establishment of whistleblowers is no exception. Essentially the McDonald's of the Copperhelm universe, you'll see variants of this restaurant pop up many times throughout this series' episodes, if I make more of them. In the room directly above us, as foretold, lies the second bar of the video. But as it finds itself seated in the VIP lounge, it sells significantly higher quality alcohol. Get that cheap shit out of here. Also contained within this resplendent recreational room is a pool table, unimaginable riches, and the finest of air-powered musical technology, a photo player. This is really the only room that strays from the red, gold, and brown color scheme now synonymous with my steampunk builds, and I can never really tell if that was the right decision. And with that out of the way, we've covered every building on the first layer of the city. So how about we hop into the overly dramatic and slow elevator of doom and despair, and take a ride up to layer 2. This is where we get to the good stuff. Since Layer 2 wasn't held back by pesky things like having a ceiling, I was able to take full advantage of the remaining space I had and make the remaining buildings as elaborate and intricately designed as my little autistic brain desired. Beginning the tour of Layer 2 is the building that replaced that horrific, foul, detestable excuse for a hotel. My room. Containing a fancy-ass bed, a cool-looking couch for when I invite the homies over, and very overly designed doors. However, in hindsight, I believe I could have found a better purpose for the room. If you have any better ideas, tell me. Now, no self-respecting steampunk civilization would be complete without a bunch of whimsical-looking airships. And whilst the SS Updraft may not be the biggest of ships, it is without question the most agile. This humble twin-propeller dirigible is ideal for transporting small quantities of both people and cargo with utmost speed and comfort. Just whatever you do, do not ask the Copperhelm Airship Company what happened in Slateheart in 1872. Moving on to the next building. Oh, hey guys, look, trains, look, jingly keys, jingle, 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 jingle. Ooh, pay attention, jingle, jingle. The Locomotive Workshop, the focal point of Copperhelmian industry. One of the first buildings added to Layer 2. And whilst it was originally a room with no real purpose or theme, kind of just containing a bunch of random trinkets, during the Great Rebuild, this room was fully transformed into the birthplace of thousands of steam locomotives, powering our economy, fueling our civilization on its path to a bright future, containing every tool you could possibly need to build the world's finest of steam-powered transportation. Michael, what the fuck is that? Moving swiftly on from whatever the hell that was, the greenhouse and guarded area was added to Layer 2 to ensure there was at least a little bit of nature around the build. We have planters of exotic flowers and other flora, stupidly over-engineered sprinkler systems, and yes, your eyes do not deceive you, moving grass. The one caveat to this cool detail is that I had to paint individual blades of grass. We now turn our attention to the observatory, in which we study the vast cosmos, or at least however much we can see of it with this big-ass telescope. Being fully honest, this building desperately needs more detail. A full remaster, or to be replaced with something cooler. Because even though this build is my baby and I love it so much, the observatory is kind of mid.
Library time.
The most recently refurbished building in Copperhelm. This building has gone through quite an identity crisis. Originally starting as a movie theater that I mentioned earlier, I then tried to put a model train lab in here, but then I realized that was dumb, and arguably fit the time period even worse than the movie theater. So I started over again and made it a railroad history museum. But that was boring, so I restarted for a third time, and I didn't know what to change the building into. And then it hit me. Now behold, the library. One of the most detailed areas of the city. Working fireplace, stocked bookshelves, a little overgrown balcony area, and a cozy little reading nook to read. What the fuck? Who's been messing with my. Who the hell's been messing with my script? Oh, God damn it, of course it was you. I don't have the energy to deal with this right now. Proxima, get his ass.
No way!
We conclude our grand tour with a vision of the future, the Copperhelmian Robotics division. For those who are caught up with my other videos and community posts, I've been drawing a bunch of robots recently. And guess what? They're part of the lore too. Granted, they're built hundreds of years in the future, but this is where it started. Strewn about this lab are many blueprints and a strung-up prototype of the Apollo model, lying in wait for its time to come, solemnly swaying in the occasional wind blowing through the lab, in which it will one day be born. Ooh, dramatic, ooh. And thus concludes our tour. A brief waltz through the largest project I've ever worked on. Obviously, I didn't cover everything. Apart from the major rooms, there's a bunch of fun details like this windmill, hidden pipe organ, and this funky little moving platform that goes like blah, 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 blah. But small hidden details aside, you've seen Copperhelm in its entirety. Its rough beginnings, its bizarre construction history, and its glorious modern rebirth. Congratulations, you've seen it all. But wait, you naive manlet! Did you really think that was all I had built in 3 entire years? Yes, I was honest about having started this project in 2023, and I have been doing work on it here and there ever since, but this build has lore. A lot of lore. 17,000 blocks of lore. But all 17,000 blocks of what you saw was merely the city's entrance. There's far, far more to come. But all of it will have to wait for future episodes, if I get the motivation to make those. So stay tuned, losers. We might be here a while. Oh no.